I'm Jonah Comstock, Editor-in-Chief at PharmaForum. I'm here at the Novo Nordisk Foundation headquarters in Copenhagen. I'm joined by Søren Møller, Managing Partner for Seed Investments at Novo Holdings. Thanks for sitting down with me, Søren.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about what we do.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and your area of investing at Novo Holdings.
Yeah, so my own background is I'm sort of a PhD scientist. I did a postdoc in the US at Stanford, and then I got into the industry. I have been working in a couple of startups before joining Novo Holdings on the investment side, and has been leading the seed investment group for about 12 years now. So that's my background.
So you were telling me a little bit earlier today about your seed investing strategy here, and some of the emphasis on talent and on ecosystem. But share some of those points a little bit with our viewers.
Yeah. So the way we go about building new companies is that sort of a virtuous cycle of great science, the right talent, and enough capitals to succeed needs to go into a sort of a virtuous, need to be in place at the same time in order for a successful biotech company to get off the ground. And what we've tried to do to address that is there's great science out there. We try to do the best effort to identify it and work with the founders of those ideas. We want to complement them with the right talent from an entrepreneur in residence pool, or a group that we have assembled over the years that are people that we work with and trust, to set the right team for a new company so they can attract the amount of money that it takes to deliver on a therapeutic startup. And once that gets right, we see that we are able to finance these companies with 50, 60, 70 million dollar A rounds, which is what it takes to get to a meaningful value inflection point in a pharmaceutical startup.
And we talked about this a little bit too. Your goal is returns on investment. There's an impact and mission-focused aspect to what you do, but very much meaning to be a profitable fund too.
We definitely need to be a profitable fund. All our co-investors are in it for the money or in it for the returns. So are we. And we think if we get our sort of long-term goal is to build an ecosystem, and that ecosystem is only successful if people come back and make money with us and build successful companies. So it's about making money.
So one thing we've talked a lot about the last couple of days is the unique relationship that the Novo Nordisk Foundation has with Novo Nordisk. It's not what people sort of expect when they hear about it. And then Novo Holdings too is not, you're not the investment vehicle of Novo Nordisk. In fact, it's sort of the other way around. So lay that out for me, just in case people are of the wrong impression.
Yeah. The way the structure of Novo Holdings and Novo Nordisk Foundation is set up is that Novo Nordisk was born with a foundational ownership in the beginning, and therefore today we have a structure where the foundation is focused on giving grants to their strategy, human health and planetary health. Novo Holdings is the custodian of the group's ownership in Novo Nordisk. So Novo Holdings own about 28% of the share capital in Novo Nordisk. So that's how we manage, that's the relationship. Our CEO, Kasim Kutai, is on the board of Novo Nordisk. And that's how we take good care of our ownership in this very successful pharmaceutical company. And that's why we say that we are not investing on behalf of Novo Nordisk. Novo Nordisk, we make our own decisions, Novo Nordisk make their own decisions.
And when you're working with startups that you seed invest in, you're free to go out and find the commercialization partner that's the best for them.
So I think the way we build companies is that we are building them for the pharmaceutical industry to acquire them, and Novo Nordisk could be a great acquirer, so could some of the other big pharmas that are around, but that's up to them to decide.
What are some things you've learned from working with startups about what it takes to make it to the growth stage and eventually to an exit? What's some advice you might have for folks who are in that position?
Yeah, that's a lot of advice. This is a complicated industry. maybe I can say what we look for. We look for great innovative ideas that are differentiated and hold promise to develop exciting new drugs. And we are there to help innovators tease out that differentiation. That's part of the work that we do to make sure that this can be articulated and can be supported by data. And then we think it's about getting the right people around the table with you as a founder. This is a very complicated business. You need to be able to talk to investors. You need to be able to run the science. You need to be able to manage a team. You need to be able to do clinical studies. All these capabilities needs to be within the team that creates a successful startup. And as from day one, you don't have all of this. We can help entrepreneurs and founders build that winning team, and then through that attract the capital and bring some of it ourselves to the table, so your science has the best chance to succeed.
But one thing we haven't talked about is your positioning and location at here in Denmark, and how much you focus on Danish startups versus global.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I'll definitely do that. So the way we build new companies is that there has to be some level of local anchoring, because it is, as I talked about, very intensive partnership work, hands-on, lots of meetings. That is much easier when companies are close to home. But the science doesn't necessarily need to come from Copenhagen or Denmark or the Nordics. It comes from everywhere. The way we set up these companies is that they have a local footprint at some point, and then they would maybe have a European focus where some of the science come from, but we also want to get them to the US as quickly as possible. So a typical company that has been through our sort of seed incubation phase has sort of multiple geographies, with one of them being in the US, and then we are able to attract the right talent and the right money to deliver on the promises of the science.
Are there any particular investment startups that you're excited about right now, or that you think are emblematic of the work you do or how you do your work?
Yeah, I think we have. It's always difficult to choose between your babies, but I think we have a bunch of very good startups that are maturing, meaning that they will be out fundraising for a larger financing rounds. This is one of them. I can mention this Antec Therapeutics. They are working on a new indication for women's health. We have Raptor Therapeutics that are doing molecular glue for prostate cancer. In the earlier stages, we are incubating in a very interesting company called Orbis Medicine that is doing a novel macrocycle chemistry, promising to develop a completely new class of small molecule chemistries that can be orally available and potentially drug protein interactions, antibodies interactions with their receptors, these kind of things. So very excited about those.
So you talked about some of the early stage, some of the mid stage. Let's talk about some of the successes you guys have posted, some of the exits and
So a very good example of I can mention two good examples of the way we build companies. One is Hemab Therapeutics. It's a spin out from Novo Nordisk, where they have been working on their hemophilia franchise for a while, and this asset was down prioritized for various reasons in Novo Nordisk. We pulled it out together with the founding team and worked with some of our entrepreneurs and residents to find a better indication for this great asset, and chose Glanzmann's disease, which is a rare bleeding disorder. We were able to secure a 50 million A round in this company and attracted John Maraganore as the chair for the company. And Hemab just recently closed a 135 million B round earlier this year with a very strong investor syndicate. So I think that's a good example of of the way we work with assets and entrepreneurs, and try to attract the right people to the company so they can get the right funding and get a good chance of delivering on the promises. I can also mention maybe a couple of projects that we sold. One is for Endo in the women's health space. It was a Finnish company, great differentiated science in a disease area where there's not a lot of new innovation, namely endometriosis. After completing a good phase 1 safety and biomarker study, we sold this company to Organon, which is a specialized women's health company, and again leaving that innovation with the experts in the space. That I'm sure that's going to be a successful project for Organon.
Earlier in the day, Kasim mentioned that the windfall with Wegovy and the semaglutides has led to a lot more capital being available.
Yes.
But that can be hard for an investor because these things don't necessarily scale linearly. Deal flow is always a question. So how have you been thinking about sort of scaling your operations and seed investing as you have more capital available?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the way we operationalize that part of the strategy is that as a seed investor, if you want to be successful financially, you need to be following the winners in your portfolio all the way to the exit. And so that's what we're doing in HEMAP, as I just talked about. We are the largest investor, so we still continue to be that, and that requires deep pockets. So I'm running a seed fund, and our annual investment budget is about $200 million per year, which is not sort of the typical ticket size of seed investors. So that's how we tend to responsibly use that additional capital, is to keep investing in the winners in our portfolio.
Right, not necessarily to cast a broader net, but to really
because
support.
it is about its quality over quantity as a seed investor. So it's not about building twice as many small startups. It's about building them right from the beginning, and that costs money and team and commitment.
Right, and that interdependent triad.
Yes, exactly. The great science, the right people, and enough money to succeed.
Anything else we haven't talked about that you think is interesting or important that you want to share?
Well, I think we are in an industry where cost of capital is very intense, and it's always when the financial markets are staggering, and we talked about earlier today that when will the IPO window open. I think it's difficult to predict, but I do think that there is still a lot of capital and ambition available for very interesting differentiated startups. So if you're an entrepreneur out there, don't be afraid to reach out to us, and we'll help you build your next great company.
Great, thanks so much, Søren.
Thanks.